Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Your son has inadvertently, we hope, sent my gorgeous granddaughter Isabel an appalling picture. It's very rude.
A place that taught me the differences between right and wrong.
Hello everyone, my name is Valentine, and this video is about Sunny Cherie, aka Twin Buns, Trash Buns, Sammy Speaks, Samantha Zolitsky. This video is part one of several. This video is specifically about them owning Yarichin B Club, YBC. Content warning: this video contains discussions of sexual assault, rape, non-consent, consensual non-consent, child sexual abuse material, and pedophilia. During Sammy's 2023 Japan trip at the age of 27, they decided to pick up a copy of a yaoi manga known as Yarichin B Club. Sammy says that they didn't even read it, and they also said that they wouldn't read it again, and they also said that they only skimmed it, and sometimes they say that they dropped it at the first 20 pages. But we don't have to guess which timeline we're in, because they made a whole review of it on their YouTube. An incredibly disrespectful, distasteful, and dishonest review of this book. They continuously call the manga a BL, which is just false. It's a yaoi. Those terms are not interchangeable. What Boys Love is generally targeted at high school aged girls, featuring characters and storylines that are more juvenile and suitable for a younger audience. Them continuously referring to YBC as a BL is disingenuous and minimizes the seriousness of its contents. Boys Love and Girls Love are aimed at pre-teen to teenage girls, featuring relationships that are typically viewed as fantasy. The notion that such relationships don't exist in the real world, and as these girls mature, their interest in these genres should fade. Adults do participate in its consumption just like they do cartoons here. It does not make it less for kids. The distinction being the fetishization of gay male relationships, consensual non-consent, explicit graphic sex, and a lack of plot development, aimed at adult female audiences. This is all decently standard and perfectly fine in plenty of cases when the characters are consenting within the narrative, age, and readers are aware of its contents and do not glorify it. Yarichin B Club in particular is set in a high school and features high school age characters. The main storyline is that the main character has to join a club at his new all-boys high school. He decides to join the photography club due to a genuine interest in photography, but once he is officially part of the club, it's revealed to him that it's actually a sex club. The students are basically on-call whores for everyone in the school, including teachers and other students. I hope to God everyone that just heard that is intelligent enough to understand that that's just not okay. I haven't even gotten to the worst of what's in these books, but you can pause to read the Wikipedia overview of each book now. I've had the misfortune of actually reading this book when I was about 12 to 13. I obviously did not understand at the time that what I was reading was normalizing abuse and sexual violence. I believed at that age it was just a regular story, just a regular book. Couldn't do anything, couldn't hurt anyone. Obviously, I've learned better, and now I know that it normalizes abuse in victims and perpetrators, especially when individuals like Sammy claim that it's just a slutty romance manga, and it's normal. Sammy also claims that the characters in the books don't have ages, and they actually all look like adults. And it's just set in a high school for narrative purposes. But all of the characters do have canonical ages between 15 and 17. And it's set in a high school because it's fetish material of teenagers. If they were supposed to look like adults, then why would it be set in a high school? Why would it not be set in an adult setting, such as in a university or a workplace? But regardless of their ages, the characters are put into sexual situations several times throughout the series, and it's all played off as comedy. This is not a dark romance. This isn't like The Killing Stalking where the audience misunderstands the story. YBC is supposed to be a comedy. And Sammy has said that themselves multiple times while claiming it's just a mildly not safe for work BL manga. They are perfectly content with owning and promoting a manga that sexualizes teenage boys in abusive and sexual situations as a joke. This isn't the only yaoi they defend either. When Sammy began showing up the book in 2023, people questioned them immediately. A very common question they got was, why would you even buy that? And then their reason being, for the meme. What's the meme? Back in 2020, the opening to the anime adaptation went viral due to the irony of such a gruesome and horrific series having a well-produced theme. While the song gained popularity on Instagram and TikTok, the manga and anime themselves did not in the same capacity. In their own words, they bought it and still have it because it's not illegal. This could be a very easy mix-up or misremembering a trend from 3 years ago, but they could have gotten rid of it and apologized after they got called out and just claim ignorance. They instead just doubled down and justified their owning it and showing it off on TikTok and Instagram for the last couple years, claiming that it was fine because when they open the book, a real-life baby doesn't fly out and land on their dick. And they weren't born, and therefore it's okay to sexualize them. When it's brought up why they fell off, they just say something along the lines of, I read a yaoi book. I just read a book. I actually fell off before YBC. Sammy without a doubt has read YBC. They even have a lot to say about it on their video about it.
I think that this is just a quirky, edgy, hypersexual yaoi webtoon turned manga that fell into the hands of uneducated white conservatives. Gay marriage is still not legal in Japan, and representation is slim to none in everyday traditional media. You could report this book to the cops and they would do nothing, because this is not real harmful media. This is fiction. Yarichin Bichibu, or Yarichin Bitch Club, is a NSFW yaoi manga that absolutely took the internet by storm during summer of 2020. If you were in TikTok in 2020, then I guarantee you have come across some sort of content that is referencing Yarichin, or YBC as we will be referring to it from now on. Like I said, YBC is an NSFW yaoi/BL manga
Why do you keep calling it a BL? It's not a romance.
that in the last couple years got what I'm going to be referring to as a 2-episode anime adaptation, but realistically it's more of a hentai.
Haven't you said multiple times in other comments that it's not a hentai?
If you are listening to this and you still don't think you know what YBC is, I guarantee you have at least heard the song that went viral from the anime because it was making its rounds on the internet from early 2020 to mid to late 2022.
Why are we dancing?
I hope you enjoyed that tasteful recreation. This song became quite a meme for how unhinged the lyrics were in 2020, and the anime in turn became trendy because of how unhinged and raunchy itself and its subject matter is / was. You see, a few months ago, I posted this reel on my Instagram. This is playing off of a popular trend at the time on TikTok where you used this particular audio and you showed what you bring to the table in a relationship. I had just got back from Japan. I had a stack of BL manga on my desk, and well, the rest is history. There is one particular volume of manga that I showed in that video that has led to the mass cancellation of me across multiple platforms on the internet. My name being slandered.
It's not slander for people that show screenshots of what you said.
Across multiple platforms on the internet, having tens of thousands, and I am not exaggerating, death threats put in my Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, my business email inbox.
Don't do that. Don't send death threats. It makes me look bad. It's not good. Blah, 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 blah.
Over the past couple months, as well as just being called horrible things, such as a kid lover, a BL fetishizer, and a CP enjoyer.
You're openly friends with people who defend pedophilic media, like if you don't, you die.
And that is because of this volume of manga right here. So today I'm going to be deep diving into why Yarichin Bichibu is the most hated BL manga to ever exist, and figuring out what is so different about YBC compared to any other NSFW manga that is in existence. Spoiler alert, people are just homophobic keyboard warriors with too much time on their hands, but that wouldn't make for a fun video essay just to say that.
Is it that people are homophobic, or are they all just telling you that it's weird that you primarily consume media of men and gay relationships? I'm gay and I think you're weird.
So without further ado, let's jump into it. The problematic stance people have about YBC starts at the plot, so I figured I would go over a rough description of what happens in this manga so that those who have never heard of it have a slight understanding about what is going on. Yarichin Bichibu, or Playboy Slut Club, if you want a better English translation than the actual English translation. The actual English name translated bichi to bitch, which that's not what it means slut. YBC was originally a webcomic that was published starting from 2012 on the website Pixiv and only got an official print release in 2016 by Gentosha. Yarichin follows the story of a a guy whose name is not really important, who transfers from a cram school to a high school. I put air quotations because this information comes into play a bit later, but we're just gonna put a pin in it for now and move on.
She's gonna do that because she wants to argue that it's a mistranslation. It's not. It's a high school. He doesn't get a choice. He has to join a club, and once he joins the club, he can't leave.
Pretty much all you need to know is this guy transfers schools, and when he gets to the school, he wants to join a club. He doesn't express interest in sports or anything more physical, but he does have an interest in photography. So when he sees the school has a photography club, he shows up to the photography club's club room after school and finds out that the photography club is actually a sex club.
Yeah, a sex club in a high school, and he can't leave the club he joined under false pretenses.
Obviously, he does not want to join the sex club, he wants to join the photography club, but after finding out the existence of the club, he is given an ultimatum by the club's members. Either have a certain amount of sex in a dedicated time, or be gang by all the other members of the club.
Choice is literally to either have sex with a certain amount of students and teachers, or gets gang raped.
Not an award-winning plot, but nonetheless, that's the plot.
Like, even if this wasn't in a high school, and these characters aren't 16, that's still fucked up and weird.
But it's nothing worse than any other BL hentai.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what? Yes, it is. How many yaois do you read like this for it to be normal to you?
Besides not having a very good plot and genuinely just being a anime/manga that is satire and is picking fun at the BL and yaoi genre as a whole.
It's not satire. It's just a comedy. It's not satirizing any BL or yaoi trope. Even if it was, it does not give it a free pass to make a story about a teen getting raped for laughs.
What exactly does the internet hate about YBC?
I think people in general just have common sense. I don't know why we have to do hard analyzing to figure this out.
Pulling that pin out of our point earlier, the manga is set in a school of some sorts.
Yeah, high school.
The characters wear outfits that look like the standard Japanese high school uniform worn by high school-aged kids.
Probably because it's a high school.
But there has always been an online debate in the English-speaking fan base for Yarichin about whether it is actually set in high school. Like I mentioned before, people are unsure about where it is set. And from what I have found from looking into this and tracked down online, this miscommunication exists from a fan translation scan of the manga that existed online before the official English translation existed that has now since been deleted.
Here's a word they use in the Japanese manga to describe the school. Kingaku ko. It means high school level, preparatory school for university, and it uses the same kanji as high school. Koto gakko to derive the high school part of that word. A private preparatory high school. Simi says they know Japanese. They should probably have known this since they read the Japanese edition of the book. If some English readers are unsure, quite honestly, it's incredibly easy to figure out.
They roughly translated the panel where the character is talking about the school that he goes to into saying that it is a college cram school.
I also want to point out it's very common for official manga translations to change things for localization. That's probably what happened here, if this is the argument, but if the manga doesn't specify what school level it is, it doesn't confirm it's not in high school. It's literally a high school in the Japanese version.
One intended to prepare someone for their entry into college. A lot of American fans took this info and ran with it in saying and justifying that the manga is not set in high school because if these people are preparing for college, that must mean that they are already out of high school.
Most prep schools in Japan are for high school age students. It's rare to find someone older than 19 in a prep school.
But Japanese fans and people with a general interest in Japan know and have known all along that a cram school is not something that is strictly for people or really intended for people who aren't in high school. It is just a extra thing that Japanese high school students will often seek out in preparation for college after school while still attending regular high school.
The Japanese school system works a lot like ours in the way you typically know what university you're going to before you graduate, not the summer after you graduate. Most people drop prep classes after they finish their entrance exams because that's what they were prepping for.
This panel right here, where they talk about the school for the first time in the manga, in the official Japanese release of this manga, this panel right here says, 私立モリモリ学園は専寮制の男子校だ.
Yeah, it says prep school with the high school kanjis. It specifies what age it's for.
So, it doesn't technically say high school, koko, but it says gakuen, so it says school. But in the panel directly underneath it, where the MC explains more, he literally says he started going to a preparatory school, aka yobiko, after his dad transferred jobs or something.
Even they know this. I don't know why they're arguing. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help their argument.
I just want to pop in for this part and say that it kind of feels like there's a plot hole in the way that this whole manga is set up, and the fact that the ages of the characters were originally announced on the author's Pixiv account.
He specified them to all be 15 to 17 years old.
But then they were redacted a couple years later, meaning I think the author kind of didn't want the ages of these characters to be super set in stone. Also, just the fact that the manga clearly states that the MC was going to be attending a yobiko in Tokyo, which is like a secondary part of education that you can attend if you don't get into the university of your choice after high school. But then he says that he transferred to Morimori Academy. The way that that is worded in the original Japanese manga, it seems like he already graduated high school but then went back to high school, but that's not possible. And I think maybe it's just a plot hole, but we're going to continue with this video under the assumption that he is in high school, going off of the character's original publicized age, which is 16, even though it has since been redacted by the author.
Glad we agree that these are teenagers. This does not help your argument at all, dude. You seriously should have just left that out. You shouldn't have even made this video in the first place, if I'm being honest.
I told you it's about high schoolers doing sexual stuff. That is so weird.
Huh? Oh, sorry. Hunter Shaver just posted about the new season of Euphoria. Look.
God, wait, I love Euphoria.
You mean the show about a bunch of teenage-aged people surrounded by adult topics, such as sex and drugs?
Sammy uses this argument a lot for some reason, but Euphoria also gets criticized for its depiction of sort of underage sex and drug use. The reason why people don't see it the same way they do with stuff like YBC is its tone and message. Euphoria is serious, and it doesn't romanticize or glorify sex and drugs. It's about how teens handle love, loss, sex, and addiction in high school. The show explores topics such as child abuse, domestic violence, human trafficking, the effects of social media, trauma, sex in high schoolers. None of it is played off as a joke. None of it is satirizing anything. And it's not a comedy. It's dramatic at times, but that's how it feels to be in high school when you're dealing with these problems.
If you are familiar with BL, or particularly older BL, then you know that non-con elements have plagued the BL community since the beginning of time. It's a trope that exists in BL that many, if not all, BL leaders agree is problematic, and we wish it wasn't there.
She is blatantly lying. She's a pro shipper and admitted to reading a lot of fanfics of characters gagged and bound, beaten within an inch of their lives, and defends non-consent all the time because it's fictional.
But we have all simply agreed to ignore it and continue enjoying these stories for the romances that they bring,
If someone says no, it's not a romance.
and not deter ourselves from reading them because of a single plot point that the authors often use to get the characters to interact in a gay way.
Does not make it necessary. You can tell authors you don't like it by not supporting and promoting their work.
I want to elaborate on this a little bit because I feel like I didn't do it very well when I was filming. BL mangaka use SA as a tool in order to make one character realize that they have feelings for the other.
Does not make it necessary. You can tell authors you don't like it by not supporting and promoting their works.
Oh, hi, baby Murmur. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Sexual assault as a literary tool does not make it okay, nor necessary.
In turn, when one character SAs the other character, the character being SA'd starts to enjoy it halfway through.
Sounds like a rape fantasy then.
This is very prevalent in shows like Junjo Romantic.
That one has a 10-year age gap between a student and a teacher, and the second the student turns 18, he's immediately raped by the teacher. So there's that.
And Sekai, where character A is reluctant to admit their feelings for character B, so character B will do something that depicts SA, and the character will realize that they actually like character B. And then from there forward, everything else is usually consensual because the character realizes in that moment that they actually do like character B. It's just a really weird way that they do it. That's why we can ignore it, because it usually isn't a reoccurring thing, at least in the BL or yaoi anime and manga I have chosen to ingest.
I don't know why you think that's normal in romance stories. I honestly think you just like rape stories. That is not normal.
A lot of us simply agree to ignore the non-con elements and focus on the better romance parts and representation parts of BL.
I think it might be a bad idea to call stories where a guy only realizes he likes another guy because he got raped by him. I don't think that's good representation, actually.
See, it's gross and problematic. How can you guys just overlook? That is so weird.
Oh my god, the new Chainsaw Man movie was just announced.
Oh my god, really? I love Chainsaw Man.
Oh, so you're a weirdo and a freak then, because you must just accept that what Hiriko and Makima did to Denji is okay. Because you like Chainsaw Man.
That.
Again, another series criticized for its handling of rape. By the way, it wasn't a good thing that they did that to Denji. Even the story makes it very clear that nearly everyone around Denji is using him or abusing him in some way. The main focus of his character is him being a teenage boy. Him being a teenage boy gives other characters very easy access to rape and assault him because they know he won't say no as a horny 16-year-old looking for approval from the only people who have ever shown him kindness. It's abuse. Within the narrative, you weren't supposed to like it, nor like the characters doing that to him. I love media literacy over here doesn't possess basic media analysis skills.
You see, Japanese media, specifically Japanese NSFW content, has always had this weird epicenter that focuses on non-con elements and CNC. I guarantee you could ask any JAV actress if she has acted in a scene that has non-con or CNC elements, and she would say yes, because it is just that common and normalized and popular in the adult video community in Japan, in media in Japan in general.
That doesn't make it good or okay. Also, it just isn't true. They have regular porn there too, you know. Like, pretty sure it's just you.
And this, of course, has leaked over into the anime and animated media scene. I cannot help but notice how non-con elements exist in a lot of anime, BL or not, but it seems that it is only a focused negative when it comes to BL.
Sammy, you might have some bias here because it's a topic of discussion everywhere non-consent is. Like, there's just a lot in yaoi and yuri for some reason. You might not hear about it in other media, but it's probably because you aren't part of that community or discussion. According to you, you only read yaoi and BL.
People hone in on it, and that is their only opinion about BL. You mention BL, and someone is gonna say, oh, I don't like BL because it has so much sexual assault.
Yeah, what a horrible reason not to read something. Like you said it yourself, it's incredibly common and normalized. It's also very normalized in the fujoshi culture that rape and sexual assault is okay if the guys end up together, and it's very common for fujoshis to ship victims and abusers together because eventually they'll like it.
Without getting into too big of a discussion about kink and kink-related things, even though I personally cannot relate to the people who find satisfaction and enjoy this type of media, I will say that there is a space and a place for non-con and CSC content to exist.
Just say you're a pro shipper and move on. You don't care about the romanticization of incest, abuse, rape, and assault in media. Just say that instead of trying to pretend you have some moral high ground.
There deserves to be spaces where people can safely interact with their fetish or their kink and find community surrounding that, and it can exist in a completely safe and morally ethical way.
Hey, there should absolutely not be a sexual assault community. It's also just not a kink, it's a paraphilia, because there's no way to engage with it safely.
People will argue this argument, saying that there's no way someone who can enjoy a CNC NSFW media doesn't think that doing those acts in real life is okay. Which brings me on to my next point is some of us just know how to separate our real life from the fiction and the fictional media that we consume.
Hey, have I mentioned that Twinbuns is a pro shipper yet?
Oh, okay, wait, rewind. Non-con elements are in a lot of media, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that they're kids. You said they are kids. That is basically child. Did you just buy something?
Oh, I was just buying the second volume of YBC off Barnes & Noble because I don't own it yet.
You can also buy Mein Kampf from Barnes & Noble. That doesn't make it a great book.
Oh, the anti-pro shippers are not going to like this portion of the video. You see, I didn't really know what the pro shipper community was until I started being called one in response to some of my opinions in the comments of my Instagram in regards to YBC.
This because you defend pedophilic content like it's your life support.
Video is not about the debate about whether pro shippers are right or antis are right, and I am not gonna deep dive into that in this video particularly, but I feel like the way that pro shippers have been villainized by antis, specifically antis on Instagram Reel, is an important thing to mention in this video while talking about YBC.
By the way, when Twinbuns say pro shipping, they say it as if it just means that they like to ship characters and they're anti-censorship. What it actually means is that they're okay with the glorification and romanticization of incest, abuse, rape, and assault in media, and they don't care what anybody else ships, even if it includes that. They even follow multiple people on Tumblr and Twitter who post drawings of children getting raped and say it's fine because they're nice to them and it's just fiction. Even one of them made these neat little emotes of a minor. Another one whines that there are adults dressed as kids under the lolly porn tag on Tumblr. Yeah, you clearly don't care.
And I do share some of their viewpoints when it comes to this particular piece of media. The author of YBC, Oguretsu Tanaka, is an adult. She is of legal age. She is these characters. She wrote their words. She is their voice. She drew them. She is them.
Just wait till they find out that when people say that, it's metaphorical and not literal.
These characters are from an adult mind. No minors or actual children or involved in the process, the creation, the imagery, the making of Yaribu. They are not included or depicted in any part of this manga or the manga making process.
Not depicted. We agreed on that earlier, that they are minors. Them not being real is a depiction. That's what that word means.
Yes, they're kids. You said earlier they are in school uniforms. It is drawings of kids doing weird things.
Does this look like a kid to you? Well, she is drawn with the same build, same rough-ish height, same muscle type, same body structure as this character, who is canon aged 23.
One, you can't tell how old they are. That's on you. Two, Oba is a young adult, so they're already close in age, and with a simplified art style, it's hard to tell how old they are. That's why we use things like context clues, settings, other characters, to specify how old somebody is. Oba has a full-time job, while on YBC, the main character is a full-time high school student. And three, that's like saying it's okay to hit on a 16-year-old if they look more mature than 16.
This is a good example of a high schooler that is being drawn to look like a high school aged person, not a high schooler that is being depicted as looking like an adult.
They literally look pretty similar, man. I don't know what to tell you. They look like they even go to the same school.
I mean, they do both look the same.
Pro shippers' arguments, from what I could find online, tend to pertain more to the world of fan fiction rather than canon media, and I often found that in the fan fiction community, a lot of people will age up characters in their head when reading a fanfic that was maybe written about two characters that canon in the show are in high school, just to make their personal selves feel more comfy when ingesting that media, even if the media they are ingesting isn't inherently sexual in any way.
Fanfiction isn't the same as the source material and doesn't have the same reach that the source material does. Or maybe it's just relatable that way. It's super common with a lot of things. Even with like regular source material, people typically assume a character is closer to their age than it really is, especially in non-visual media.
With this piece of media in particular, though, I would argue that the characters are already visually aged up.
Lying buns.
This is the main character of Yaribu. His name is Yuri Ayato, and I would say that this, in my opinion, does not look like your average Japanese high schooler. He has piercings, he has dyed hair. Those are two things that are prohibited in Japanese high schools.
Would you say that Sasaki looks like your average high schooler? Colored hair and piercings in manga and anime are pretty common to make characters distinct and give them more personality. Like, it's really just to show that they're more rebellious, much like they do in Western media. Him having colored hair and piercings does not magically make him 20. It makes him a rule-breaking high schooler. In my high school, unnaturally colored hair and piercings other than earrings on girls were prohibited. I still had earrings in my ears. Both my sister and I colored our hair several times. It did not magically make us legal age.
But running it back to the pro-shipper argument, even if this is what the average Japanese high schooler looked and acted like, it's fake. He doesn't exist. Maybe the haters on Instagram fully wholeheartedly transform their lives into the fiction that they read and it becomes a reality to them, but I can separate fiction from real life. And this guy, he's fake. He doesn't exist.
Fiction is not separate from reality. If you didn't drop out of high school, would have taken 4 years worth of English and writing classes that explain how and why. There's a reason stuff like The Great Gatsby, Fahrenheit 451, Catcher in the Rye, Hunger Games, and 100 other fiction books are core readings in high school and why it's so incredibly important that they don't get banned from schools. Fiction and reality are completely intertwined. Again, if you didn't drop out of high school, you would know that all media is either meant to make you feel something, do something, or tell you something.
You're reading about high schoolers doing sexual stuff. That means that you probably want to do that too.
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Did you ever watch My Friend Dahmer?
Oh my god, yes. Ross Lynch is so hot in that. I loved that movie.
Oh, so you like serial killers? Like you want to be with or be a serial killer?
Huh? What? No, it's just a it's just a movie. I think Ross Lynch is hot outside of the movie. I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer is. He's just it's the character. I'm separating. Oh.
It's funny that you use that as an example because most people who watch and consume media about serial killers do find them sexually attractive in some way. Especially series like Dahmer with a narrative focus on the killer. It makes people empathize, understand them, and romanticize them with an attractive actor. Dahmer was very, very criticized for its depiction of Dahmer, how it made him seem normal but was something a little wrong with him. Literally, most serial killers get letters in prison from thousands of fans telling them how sexy they are. There are killer tours where you can go visit the homes they lived in, the places they killed at, and their graves. There are whole communities who find criminals attractive in general and romanticize crime in media and in real life.
I just want to put this disclaimer in here. I know I've been joking around with these little skits and stuff, but to the people who will die on this hill and treat this book that you can purchase from Target, from Walmart, from Barnes & Noble.
I'm pretty sure of all the stores you can only get it at Barnes & Noble from the hentai section.
This is CP and will value the lives and the safety of these characters who cannot physically come to any mental or physical harm because they do not exist.
This is just completely dishonest. Nobody thinks or treats these characters like they're real people, and you know that. People are criticizing you for owning and defending that book, questioning why you're okay with pedophilic media in general. Nobody gives a fuck about pink hair or blue hair from your child rape manga. They care about the way that you treat media and disrespect the opinions of people who continuously told you that stuff like that is bought and consumed by pedophiles for very obvious reasons. You've ignored victims when they've told you stuff like this only normalizes abuse and assault. Literally nobody thinks that these characters are real people, so stop acting like that's what people are saying.
And equate what is happening to them in this book to the lives and struggles of actual victims of CP, to the victims who have suffered at the actual hands of pedophiles. You are sick, you are belittling, and you are twisted.
You are not the voice of victims. Don't pretend that you are sticking up for them by saying that YBC and pedo content is perfectly normal and can do no harm. Nobody's saying it is exactly the same as child sexual exploitation material. They're saying it's weird that media is normal and okay with you. You have no right to tell people who call you out, especially not the victims calling you out, sick or twisted, for criticizing you for owning a piece of child sexual abuse material.
And you need to get your priorities straight if you think a drawing on the paper deserves your attention over actual victims of sexual abuse, over actual victims of childhood sexual abuse. Reevaluate your priorities. Put the effort you put into hating this book that you can buy at Barnes & Noble. Let me just remind you, you can walk, not this one because this is the Japanese version, but the American version and all 5 other volumes you can buy at brick and mortar stores. You could report this book to the cops and they would do nothing. because this is not real harmful media. This is fiction. Get your priorities straight. Put the effort you are putting into hating on this into actually helping survivors of childhood abuse and childhood crimes.
You are incredibly stupid to think and say that drawings and writings of that kind of stuff don't harm people, that it doesn't make victims, or it doesn't normalize it. You've made it very clear over and over the last few years that you don't care about what victims have to say if it makes you look like a bad person in any capacity. You have outright told people that you don't care because it's just a drawing. I especially don't understand why you think your critics only care about YBC. Most people find that shit nasty in real life too. Do put effort into protecting kids from predators in some way. There's reasons why we have laws like Megan's Law, the Public Registry, Reno v. ACLU 521 US 844, making it illegal to send indecent or offensive material to minors online, and MD Code Criminal Law 11208, a law that criminalizes the possession of child pornography, including drawn and written depictions of minor under 16 years engaged in sexual acts. It's why we have 18 U.S. Code 2256, aka the Child Exploitation Prevention Laws that criminalize CSEM and CSAM. Oh, my favorite part.
All of this aside, this book is just bad LGBTQ representation. It's setting weird examples, and teens are gonna read it and they're gonna think that it's okay to do all this, and it's just bad. As a gay man, that makes me uncomfortable. Is that the Are You Humming the Oron High School Host Club theme song?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I haven't heard that in years. I think I watched that in like high school.
Oh, so you started a host club at your high school then, right?
Huh?
Well, the plot is just so similar. Haruhi is forced to join this club and pay off their debt, and you watched that in high school, so obviously you must have started a host club, right?
No, that's unrealistic.
The god of media literacy over here. Nobody thinks that YBC and Oron Host Club are the same or even similar. Nobody gets raped in that show. Nobody is forced to do anything they don't want to. Haruhi says no all the time to the boys' stupid requests, and they respect that answer every single time. The show absolutely has questionable moments, but it is nothing like YBC, and nobody says it's perfect.
Older BL is problematic representation, as we have covered in this video so far. I am one to admit that older BL was crazy. They often have non-con elements in every episode. The men are hypersexualized and everything is exaggerated. They play into harmful gay stereotypes. But nobody is saying, and nobody should be saying, what happens in BL is realistic or mirrors what actual MLM relationships are like in real life.
If it's unrealistic and not like real life, then why are you about to argue it's an important piece of representation to LGBTQ+ community? Why are you going to include this in your video?
People often call me a fetishizer in the comments of my Instagram for liking BL, not even YBC. We're not even talking about YBC. They think that because this media is of two men, there is no way I, a non-man, can ingest it in an ethical way.
They probably call you that because you said several times that it's almost the entirety of the media you consume and you call yourself a fujoshi, which is a derogatory term to say someone is rotten for fetishizing gay men. Like, you chose that term to brand yourself with. It's probably because you keep saying it's the only thing you like. You even said that you prefer gay male porn over lesbian porn as a lesbian, so.
And in turn, call me a fetishizer, when I, for one, think that they are the one that is over-sexualizing and fetishizing this media.
It's fetish material, and you know that. Every single fujoshi knows that. Calling you out for fetishizing gay relationships, porn, and manga is not over-sexualizing or fetishizing anything. That's like saying everyone who criticizes Genshin for making all their female characters gooner bait, a gooner who sexualizes all women.
I personally read BL, not YBC, for the romance. It's often a romance I can relate more than your stereotypical cis-het straight romance manga. I find BL often shows a more realistic portrayal of what it is like to be in a relationship, the ups and downs.
Aren't you a lesbian? Go read Girls Love and Yuri. Those characters are in relationships and have sex. They're LGBTQ too. So why do you only read BL and yaoi? And didn't you just say most BL and yaoi are unrealistic?
And also, it oftentimes really greatly covers what it is like to be in a relationship that is seen as taboo or is seen as something that is wrong by the rest of society.
Do you know why it seems taboo in those stories? Because it's a fetish. Nobody cares if people are in gay Japan. They probably care less than they do here in the US. They have a whole district filled to the brim with a lively and vibrant LGBTQIA+ scene. And just because gay marriage isn't legal there doesn't mean gay people in Japan are ostracized and shunned from society. Literally, no one in Japan cares that much. Even old people don't give a fuck. Most young people know a queer person or two. You literally don't know what you're talking about. You are incredibly privileged, and it is so disingenuous of you to pretend that you have been ostracized and discriminated against and oppressed when you yourself have used the tools of the oppressor to discard and disrespect the opinions of gay men and trans men who have criticized you for calling their relationships taboo and consuming media that fetishizes them. The second that you got called out for that, you decide to come out as non-binary and change your pronouns to they, them. And then you say that you were trans masc at some point in your late teens, which was proven to be a lie. You have only ever used your status as part of the LGBTQIA+ community to dodge accountability.
People siphoning down BL to every single public BL enjoyer and saying that we only like it because it has sexual content between two men.
You literally say that's why you like it.
Is really just saying that these people see BL and they only see it as it's gay.
Oh my god, they see it as gay?
They don't see it as a romance story. They don't see it as something heartbreaking like Given. They don't see it as something that is actual representation. People who only see BL and think like girls reading it are just fetishizing gay men don't understand how important it is in Japan for BL to exist and how BL exists in Japan as a whole.
People love Given. Given is praised for how good it is, not even just as a BL, but as a story in general. People criticize things that are bad and harmful like YBC.
Okay, whatever. Maybe people won't copy what's in this. Maybe it isn't even representation. Maybe
It's like a
not
joke
meant
there, like
But
9% of the
it's
time.
written
Nobody
by a
takes
girl,
it seriously
and girls
because
reading
it's fetish material for
BL
teen
is
girls and young
icky.
women. Most BL and yaoi are written for women by women. It's kind of weird.
In order to understand girls enjoying BL and why it is not problematic and it's not fetishizing and why it's not inherently a bad thing when a girl or female presenting person expresses a interest in BL, you need to understand what Japan is like and what society around LGBTQ plus people is like in Japan. LGBTQ plus people are still treated like garbage in Japan. They are barely accepted or acknowledged by their own government. They are seen as disgusting, wrong, and sick by society, by the older generation. Gay marriage is still not legal in Japan.
They're treated like normal people. Japan is not a special mythical place where gay people don't exist, and if they do, everybody hates them. If anything, right now Japan actually has better protections against discrimination than the US does. Just because gay marriage isn't legal over there doesn't mean queer people are treated horribly over there. Even without marriage, they still have domestic partnerships. They can buy houses together, and they can adopt with very little shits given. There's not anti-LGBTQ plus like rallies over there. Nobody's protesting gay people like they do here in the US. You can literally ask any gay person in Japan and they will tell you that nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're neutral about gay people in Japan.
And representation is slim to none in everyday traditional media, publicized television shows, books, YA novels, Netflix original series, dramas, stuff like that.
It's just not true. There are plenty of queer and even trans characters and people in Japanese media. There can always be more, just like here, but it's not an absolute zero, and I don't know why you're pretending that's the case. Japan doesn't censor gay people in media from the US, so they have like Heartstopper, Red, White, Royal, Blue on top of everything that they produce too. They literally air Japanese BL animes and drama shows all the time, sometimes on their own dedicated channels because it's that popular.
We have stated multiple times, and I've done this on purpose, that old BL used to be bad. It used to be more problematic.
Okay, then stop trying to pretend that YBC is important. Rep, stop arguing this and don't include it in the video. Don't even make this video in the first place.
In recent years, in the past 10, 15 years, we have seen changes. We have seen BL become more mainstream, and we have seen positive changes in the tropes and in the way that gay men are being portrayed in the media in Japan.
We've been seeing this trend with literally everything, not just BL. Trans people in media was terrible up until like 10-15 years ago when people actually started to take us seriously. I'm not gonna sing the praises of shit like How I Met Your Mother and Glee just because it was a different time and they decided to include trans people.
People aren't gonna like this, and this is my opinion, and it's a lot of people's opinions, so it doesn't really matter if you agree with it. Fujoshi are the reason that BL is improving.
Maybe gay people are the ones improving BL and gay rep? Did we think that maybe as it got more mainstream and received more criticism and more gay people were taken seriously, this media improved? Good rep comes from people who experience it firsthand. You can tell when a writing team has a gay or a trans person on it just by the way they include LGBTQIA people and how they tell our stories.
Fujoshi are problematic sometimes, okay? They kind of get a little bit extreme, as does anyone who has an interest in sort of a taboo type media.
You were part of a fandom for consuming media of just gay male relationships. You did not invent gay rights or good representation.
But it's true, BL was initially created in Japan by women for women.
Oh my god, we're just admitting it now. Yes, it's made by women for women, and now it's getting more popular as being queer is more accepted, and gay people, real gay men, are able to tell their stories.
And it became so popular and so widely accessible to struggling queer men, to struggling LGBTQ plus kids in Japan who just want an ounce of representation in a manga, in a media, to feel like the love that they experience is accessible to them via manga like their peers are, because women were interested in it, because it was made for women, by women.
That doesn't make it good representation. You might not believe it, but women fetishizing gay men is not new. The whole gay best friend thing is basically that in manga form. Women love gay men because they think all gay men are hyper femme, makeup loving, boy crazy, high pitched voice stereotypes to point out hot guys with you. The Joshis love their stereotypes and tropes for a reason.
Japan really said, we're gonna make gay media straight. We're gonna make it so this is a straight thing. People need to understand that if BL was written by men for men, it would not be anywhere near as popular. It would not be anywhere near as accessible.
Why do you always pretend to be the voice of gay men? Do you really think that women are why we have good gay male rap? Like, seriously? Most older BL and yaoi was written by and for women, guys. So women made bad rep then, and now because it's popular, women made it better? Yeah, women did that, and definitely not the fact that they're putting gay men on the writing teams for these projects.
It would not have come as far as it has today, to where we have shows like Sasaki and Miyano, where in the Sasaki and Miyano movie, Miyano comes out to his mother. They actually talk about coming out in Sasaki and Miyano. In older BL, the men weren't gay. They were just two straight guys that happened to like each other. YBC aside, BL as a whole. And I brought up Fujoshis earlier because I am talking particularly about Fujoshi. I am talking about the girls that were out loud and proud talking about BL, buying every single volume that came out, purchasing merch, being proud out fans of this media.
It literally got popular because being queer was more accepted, not because just some 14-year-old Japanese girl was out wearing her YBC shirt and waving around a hand fan with a couple from Loveless on it. Like, that's literally it. The Overton window just moved in favor of LGBTQ people.
Because it made it successful. It made it financially sustainable for BL authors. Women BL authors paved the way so that male BL authors could exist without being ridiculed and laughed at and told they were disgusting for writing that type of book.
You know who paved the way to how we understand the brains of autistic and other neurodiverse people? The Nazi doctor named Asperger. You know who paved the way to how we understand the chemical composition makeup to the human body? The doctors of Unit 731. Should we praise them? Should we celebrate and congratulate them? Maybe you. Most people call them pieces of shit who tortured people, even though they did technically contribute quite a bit to science. But nobody gives them the time of day because what they did was bad, and we know it's better to praise the doctors who follow ethic codes and treat patients like human beings instead of subjects to life dissect. They were called gross because it was rape manga 99% of the time, not because it was gay. Like you said yourself, most of the time it was two straight guys who happened to like each other and only realized that after one of them rapes the other.
Because, oh, he wrote a BL. Everyone knows what BL is because the Fujoshi won't shut up about it. You see BL everywhere, you're desensitized to it.
Desensitized? Wait, are you telling me that fiction affects reality? Are you telling me that people seeing a certain type of media over and over normalizes it? I thought your whole thing right now was that it doesn't. Weird.
Is it okay that this media is
gay men and it's only marketed towards girls in Japan? Obviously not.
Just like it's weird that yuri and lesbian porn appeals and caters to adult men.
They made it so. BL authors, women who wrote BL mangaka from the 80s and 90s made it so now there are queer teens, queer boys, queer middle schoolers who could go and buy the latest volume of Sasaki and Miyano in Japan.
Did women do that, or did the gay men who wrote and contributed to those stories do that? We don't credit the person who made paper for paving the way to the printing press being invented.
And see a fluffy, adorable, perfect, shoujo-esque love story of the romance and love that they experience. They have a voice. It's still being pushed down by the oppressive homophobic society in Japan, but because of BL, they have a talking point. They have a voice.
This series is wildly popular. Nobody's pushing it down at all. It's currently sitting at an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 8.2 on Mal, and a 4.3 out of 5 on Goodreads, which is all incredibly high scores. This is literally one of the most popular and well-liked BL right now. It's probably going to get a second season after the next manga comes out. It has a spin-off manga and a movie for the spin-off being released soon. It's more popular and successful than Yuri on Ice.
Back into this garbage. I wish I could wrap this video up into a neat little bow and say that this media is unproblematic, it's been misrepresented by all of the haters on Instagram, and it's actually perfectly fine. But that is not the case.
Then why do you defend it so much and defend yourself? Why do you even keep it around anymore?
This is a problematic, horny, edgy, gross piece of media, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the right to exist. Fiction exists to push boundaries, to tell stories of often found taboo subjects that people don't discuss on an average everyday basis in their everyday lives.
I think we should just let everyone nuke America. We deserve it for the failure that is our education system.
It's to reach the unknown. The limits are endless, to talk about magic, to talk about dragons, to talk about mermaids and unicorns, sexual fantasies, to explore other cultures and other worlds, to see other people's viewpoints. Racism, sexism, homophobia, non-con. It exists in fiction.
You're literally just equating YBC to magic and fantasy.
And it always has. I have never read past the first volume of YBC.
You admitted in this video and multiple times that you have read this manga. And then other times you say that you never read it, or you just skimmed it, or you dropped it after the first 20 pages. You say that you never read it at all when you get criticized for owning it. It's almost like there's a reason you deny reading it at all.
And I have only watched the anime once because it was popular and I wanted to see what the hype was about.
The hype being child rape.
I don't even like this manga.
Then why do you defend it so much? Why did you argue that it's actually fine, even good to read because it's gay representation and they don't look that much like kids, if in the end, all you're going to say is that you don't like it? Like, just don't make this video.
I bought it for the meme. It literally has the sticker still on the back. I bought this for a meme because I needed to get rid of my yen on the last day of my trip at a thrift store. I know I was being silly and goofy in this video with my little skits.
You mean your straw man arguments? They weren't that funny. It just shows that you either don't understand literally anything or you misrepresent other people's criticisms of you.
But I did try to show with my skits that while this is a problematic piece of media, that we can talk about and address why certain things in this make us uncomfortable or why we personally don't agree with some of the subject matter in it.
You've literally done nothing in this video but argue that it's okay and normal and it's not that bad and everyone who doesn't like it is an uneducated white conservative.
It also shares subject matter that exists in all fictional media. Media surrounding high schoolers and sex is always going to be weird, but it's not like this is the only case of that. Sex Education, a show on Netflix, a widely popular show, is about a high school sex counselor.
It's pretty normal for teens to have a class on sex ed, and a show about teens navigating sex porn relationships and the awkwardness of talking about sex with peers and parents, and they didn't show any of the kids having graphic sex, is highly rated and acclaimed. While YBC, a graphic yaoi manga about a teen boy forced into a sex club being raped, isn't? Can we do some media analysis and notice how those things are very, very different?
Chuck Bass, in the first episode of Gossip Girl, a show that is so popular it got a 2020 remake, he assaults Jenny and Serena in the first episode.
You weren't supposed to like that, by the way. That was not meant to be hot, glorified, romanticized, nor was it played as a joke. It was used to show what a shitty guy Chuck is and how bad of a friend Blair is. And Gossip Girl fans criticized the first episode and every episode that mentions her assault because it was handled so poorly. The original series performed decently well and is considered to be pretty good. The new HBO remake got canceled because it was performing and reviewing so poorly.
Supernatural teeters on the line of incest for the entirety of its airtime and was still a widely popular show in the early 2010s.
Did we watch the same Supernatural? Like, seriously, that's on you if you read them as being incestuous. The show made it pretty clear that they have brotherly love and nothing else.
Taboo things exist in media, whether it be gay, straight, Japanese, Western. What did my research conclude as to why this is the most hated BL manga in existence? Well, I think it all boils down to it's in the spotlight. It is popular. It is the weird BL manga of its time.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with its contents.
And it having an anime.
It's barely an anime. It's basically a poorly censored hentai.
That was widely popular on the internet, made it a lot of people's first time dipping their toes into this type of unhinged, weird, cringy media. Specifically, BL media.
I'm pretty sure that anybody who is into BL and yaoi did not start with YBC. And again, it was in the spotlight because it was already well known for how weird and bad it was. It only got attention because for some reason the show had a well-produced opening.
People saw this and are unfamiliar with the tropes that this itself is making fun of, because this manga and the anime is so satire, but people who don't know what it's making fun of would have no way to pick up on that.
It's not making fun of or satirizing any tropes. I literally cannot tell you where Dumb Buns got that from. Honestly, how can you say, I love media literacy, and then say so many stupid things in a row?
I think that this is just a quirky, edgy, hypersexual, satire, yaoi webtoon turned manga that fell into the hands of uneducated white conservatives.
Twinbuns is a high school dropout, white, politically apathetic person who admittedly only reads BL, yaoi, and smut.
And they just ran wild with it, even though this media was never intended for them to ingest in the first place. The joke's not for them. The joke's not for them, and they don't want to accept that.
The joke. Child rape, like, seriously.
In conclusion, media is going to exist that you don't agree with.
There's such a huge difference between someone not personally loving a show or manga and another person criticizing you for reading and defending a book that made graphic visual jokes about teens getting sexually abused at school. Like, this isn't a difference in preference or opinion. This is a moral thing. You sound like a conservative who gets mad that leftists don't want to invite you to Christmas dinner after you voted for Trump. There are social consequences to your actions.
Whether it is a public work like YBC or a fanfic on the pages of AO3, there is going to be stuff that you don't like floating around. But there is absolutely nothing you can do about it.
I can criticize it and call people out for being weirdos.
I think we all just need to accept that this is a book. This is words on paper. This is fake. It doesn't exist. Do you see what I just did there? I closed this book. I sat the book down. This is me. This is the book. We are two separate entities. I can read that book and still be a decent person. You can ingest taboo media and still be a good person. It's words on paper. It's lies. It's fake. It's fiction. It's not real.
Again, this person is friends with people who don't jerk off to little kids getting raped. Just drawings of little kids getting raped. Hi, baby. Hi, buddy.
All that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. This is not like my normal content.
I'm happy that even with all the stupid shit that's happened to me in the last few years, I managed to graduate high school. As bad as the US education system is, it's better than being whatever the fuck that was. This is only like part 1 of 15 because This idiot does and says so much. I really thought I was only gonna have to make like one short video on them. It was only gonna cover the Asian fishing and eat a bag gate, but like there's so much going back years and years, it could not just be one video. So I'll probably get the next video done within, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I do have doctor stuff coming up. I'll probably either be covering their poorly written book or their Tumblr pro shipping blog. There's a lot of parts. Huge shout out to everyone on the Twinbuns subreddit for their help with archiving, helping me find stuff, just in general, good community. And one more very, very, very special thank you to my boyfriend and our 2 cats for keeping me company and supporting me through this video process. And I'm kidding. One more special thank you to me for making this video, because I don't have a sponsorship or Patreon. And if you are a sponsorship person, I like money and art. As I was editing, the r/twinbuns subreddit went down. So there won't be a link for that in the description. But still, shout out to everyone on the Twinbuns subreddit for all their help still. You guys were awesome.